The prairie burned in streaks of blood orange as the sun dipped behind jagged hills, wind slicing through the wheat like a thrown knife. Coyotes barked in the distance, echoing off the empty horizon. Elias Crane leaned on the fence, boots sunk deep in dust and mud, knuckles white from gripping the worn wood. Life had carved him into a man of scars and stories. He'd wrangled cattle, thrown fists, and dragged bodies from trouble. But tonight carried a different weight. A figure appeared at the fence's edge, hunched, clutching a burlap sack, holding out a single, crumpled dollar. "Pull it open," the stranger rasped, voice rough as gravel. Elias froze, gut coiling tight, spine crawling with a shiver he knew too well. Iron lingered in the air, sharp and accusing. He wanted to step back, to run, but something darker, curiosity, or a need he dared not name, drove his hands forward. The sack felt heavy, alive almost, as his fingers brushed the coarse cloth. The wind whispered warnings, rustling the wheat like restless ghosts. His heart thudded loud enough to drown out everything else. One slow, trembling yank later, his eyes fell on the contents, and the world seemed to twist. He gasped. "God, what in hell?" Footsteps hit the dirt behind him, fast, deliberate, leaving no room for retreat. Elias spun, fists tight, every instinct screaming danger. Who was this stranger? What curse had he just unwrapped? Could he trust himself, his own judgment, or was it already too late to turn back? The first stars blinked awake overhead, cold witnesses to the choice he had to make. The prairie held its breath, the wind silent for the first time in hours. What would you do if you were in his boots? Could curiosity ever justify the risk? If this twists your gut, hit subscribe, because the night is far from over, and the secrets aren't done whispering yet. The wind whined through the barn afters, rattling boards like dry bones. Elias Crane's eyes lingered on the burlap, hands trembling, heart pounding, not from fear alone, but memory. He hadn't always been this lone shadow on the prairie. Once laughter had rung through his home, firelight warming a wife's smile and a boy's small hands. He had believed in the world then, believed in love, in family. Winter had stolen that. His wife vanished one bitter morning, leaving only a note, faint with tobacco smoke and despair. His son, taken by law or fate, he could never tell, vanished into the same cruel horizon. No answers, only silence. Elias had poured himself into the land, the cattle, the dust, each sunrise a battle against soil, and men harder than himself. Still, beneath his gruff exterior, grief pressed on him like the summer sun baking the wheat dry. He glanced at the sack again. That single crumpled dollar felt heavier than a mountain, curiosity tangled with desperation, survival tangled with guilt. Maybe this is my chance," he muttered, voice rough as the wind. "Or maybe it's a trap I've been too damn tired to see." Rumors haunted the prairie, travelers disappearing, outlaws settling debts in blood, debts owed and forgotten. He clenched the cloth, knuckles white, thinking of the son he couldn't find, the wrongs he couldn't right. Could one act undo decades of pain, or drag him deeper into the darkness? The wind shrieked, rattling the barn doors violently, a warning, or a herald of what was to come. Elias froze, listening. Every nerve screamed both caution and need. What lies beneath this cloth? What would you do if it promised hope or heartbreak? If you'd risk it for redemption, hit subscribe, because the night is far from over and choices are about to get deadly. The burlap fell with a harsh scrape, revealing her, barely 16, trembling, eyes wide as the prairie sky, pale skin streaked with blood, cracked lips whispering fear he could almost hear. Elias staggered back, a low grunt of disbelief tearing from his chest. The metallic tang of iron hung thick in the air, sharp as betrayal. The stranger lingered in shadow, face hidden, offering no answers. Elias's pulse hammered, each beat echoing like a drum in an empty canyon. The girl's gaze locked on him, raw terror spilling into a silent plea. "I'm the only one." Every instinct screamed, yet every option carried danger. Hide her? Call for help? Confront the shadow that had vanished once before? His fingers itched for his revolver, but the law had long since proven itself a ghost out here. Survival wasn't shared. It was earned, or stolen. She's just a child," he muttered, voice ragged. The wind rattled fence posts, carrying whispers that seemed to mock him. "Do you dare take responsibility? Sweat trickled down his temple, stinging, as he weighed choices that could cost lives. One wrong move, hers, gone like smoke across the prairie. The stranger melted into the darkness, leaving nothing but promise unspoken, threat lingering like a storm cloud. Elias clenched his teeth, the weight of moral obligation pressing harder than any fist or gun barrel. Could he protect her without losing himself, or would every decision now unravel the fragile hope left in the world? A distant wolf howl sliced the night, warning of what was coming, or perhaps urging him forward. Courage or fear, one had to move first. Could you stand when everything screams to run? If you'd risk it to save a life, hit subscribe, because this night is far from over and choices are about to burn hotter than the prairie sun. Dawn tore across the prairie in bruised purples and blood-tinged pinks, casting long shadows of the barn. Elias had barricaded the girl inside, every plank trembling under the weight of his fear and resolve. The night had dragged on, filled with whispered confessions, her quiet sobs curling around his heart like smoke. Then came the law, or what passed for it. Horses thudding, guns drawn, eyes colder than the frost on the wheat. They didn't see a scared girl. They saw tainted, guilty, a thing to be punished. Elias stepped forward, fists raised, teeth gritted. "She's not yours," he barked, voice rough, raw. The leader sneered, boots crunching in dust. "She's ours now, old man. Step aside." Metal clashed, boots kicked up earth, and in the chaos, a stray bullet tore through barn wood, and something else. The girl's scream split the morning air, so raw it rattled bones. Pain exploded through Elias, a punch of grief and memory, lost family, empty home, unanswered wrongs. He lunged, dragging her into the shadows, arms shaking, lungs burning. In the aftermath, silence pressed around them. Blood's copper tang lingered, mixing with straw and dust. His hands trembled. This wasn't survival alone anymore. It was moral, spiritual. Could he carry this burden? Could he outrun vengeance, or would it come charging like a stallion across the plains? "What now?" she whispered, voice fragile, eyes searching his. Elias's jaw tightened. "We fight. That's all we know how to do." By nightfall, the prairie had turned into a battlefield of shadow and wind. Elias tracked the stranger to a forgotten canyon, the air sharp, cutting through him like knives. The girl clutched his coat, trembling, yet her trust was absolute. Stars shone cold overhead, but down here, only dust, jagged rocks, and fear held dominion. The stranger emerged from shadow, revolver glinting, eyes hard as flint. Words had failed them both long ago. Now only action spoke. Bullets screamed past, kicking up dirt, rattling rocks, every step a gamble with death. Elias dove behind a boulder, blood stinging a graze on his shoulder, yet fury drove him forward, a storm he could not contain. "You won't take her," he growled, voice raw as gravel. The girl screamed, sharp and desperate, pulling at the stranger's attention just long enough. Elias lunged, fists flying, mud and rage blending in a visceral tangle. The fight was brutal, primal, grief, survival, and moral outrage boiling over in every punch. Rocks scraped skin, blood smeared earth, and for a heartbeat, the world narrowed to two men and a single chance at life. Finally, Elias wrestled the revolver from the shadowed hands, standing over him, chest heaving, soaked in sweat and dirt. He looked down at the girl, wide eyes reflecting horror and relief. A single question lingered, heavy and unspoken. Can justice ever feel clean, or is it always tainted with blood? Elias knelt, brushing her hair back, voice trembling. We made it, for now." The canyon wind whispered around them, carrying both promise and threat. Could the world finally allow him peace, or would the horizon always hold another storm? What would you do if survival and justice collided in the same heartbeat? Could you forgive the blood you spilled to protect the innocent? Like if you'd stand your ground, subscribe for more, because the prairie never forgets, and neither does fate. Dawn crept across the prairie, soft amber spilling over the grass, a cruelly beautiful contrast to the night's chaos. Elias led the girl back to the ranch, her small hand gripping his like a lifeline. Each step was heavy with exhaustion, yet lightened by survival. Silence stretched between them, broken only by the wind sparring through the wheat and the faint creak of the old barn door. He realized then that life's harsh lessons were never about winning. They were about surviving, protecting, sometimes forgiving when forgiveness felt impossible. The girl's eyes, wide and bright with awe, searched his face. "Will you tell me the story?" she asked softly. "The night when fear met courage?" Elias's lips twitched into a rare smile, weathered and fleeting. "I'll tell it," he said. "Every detail. So you'll remember what it means to stand, even when the world tells you to fall. No cheers, no celebration, only the hum of life resuming its quiet rhythm. But in that rhythm, hope stirred, the chance to rebuild, to connect, to protect. The prairie remained unforgiving, yet the bond forged in shadows and blood promised redemption, fragile but real. He paused at the ridge, looking over the sunlit fields, dust shimmering like gold in the morning light. "We made it," he whispered, more to himself than to her. "What would you risk for someone's life? Could you stand when the horizon seems endless and the world expects you to fall?" The ranch stretched into the distance, quiet, enduring. The prairie held its secrets, but in its endless sweep a promise lingered, courage remembered, love protected, and a chance at a future earned with sweat and blood. If this tale touched your soul, share it, because out here, in the heart of the West, every story is worth remembering, and every act of courage deserves to echo,